The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some Optavia coaches or clients of Optavia. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Optavia team.
Okay, welcoming everyone on, and we are going to be getting started here. So I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Lisa Castro, and I am an Optavia coach and have been for over 14 years. And boy, have I gone through a life transformation myself, and I love watching other people and partnering with other people to help them create that life that they've always desired. And it starts with ourselves, and that's what this Zoom this evening is about, is really saying how can we be the best version of ourselves and continually working towards that. So I'll begin by talking about the topic for tonight. So habits of health, hopefully you're all in the right place. Webinar, I'm Lisa Castro again, as I was saying, and we're going to be talking about living above the line. And a lot of us know what that means, and others like, what do you mean by living above the line? Well, we're going to be finding out. We want to talk about empowering to build relationships. You know, some of us have enabled or been enabled in our relationships, so we're going to be talking about how we can improve those relationships. Wouldn't you like to have better relationships in your life? You know, that's a habit of health, believe it or not, having healthy relationships. Have more quality and impactful conversations with others. When you can do that, that's going to obviously help with having better relationships. And then being a better version of ourselves, we show up differently in the world when we become that better version of ourselves. So how about being a better leader? If we have those better relationships, having better conversations, being the better version of ourselves, we're bound to be a better leader. Well, a leader in what? Some of you might be thinking, I'm not a leader. Well, you might be a leader of your home. You might be a leader at work. You might even just be a leader of your own life, because who else is in charge of your daily decisions? I mean, we have free will, so the decisions we make lead to some of the lifestyle that we have for ourselves, and that it actually impacts others too as we make decisions. I don't think a lot of us realize how many times our decisions are impacting another person negatively or positively. So how about we go for positively? So we talk about we take responsibility. That's what we're really meaning by saying we play above the line. Not only do we take responsibility for our decisions, but we help others and support them in taking responsibility for their decisions. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So above the line choices would be taking ownership of those choices, those decisions, the directions of my life. I take ownership in that. And then I also have accountability. You know, I'm accountable for my decisions. And also, I take responsibility. Now, there's a difference between taking responsibility and taking blame. That's below the line. When we blame ourselves or blame somebody else for where we're at, it doesn't feel good. It's like a place where it's like kind of keeps you in a place that's not moving forward. But the things above the line do move us forward. Excuses can definitely hold us back. You know, there's difference between a reason, like I might not have been able to go I'm going to say our national convention because I was getting ready to have a baby. It's not true, guys. I wasn't getting ready to have a baby, but I'm thinking of one of our coaches, and that's a situation like that. That's a reason why she might not go to our national convention, but it's not an excuse. And the reason I say that is excuse is giving yourself permission to fail. That's the way I view it anyway, and I think that's what they're meaning by this as well. So denial. Denial is where we just deny that we are responsible for the choices that we're making. Well, it's because of somebody else, so, you know, I'm denial that I might have a role in that. So we really want to look at this and find ourselves living above the line, but we're all going to fall below the line. I guarantee you're going to have times when you fall below the line, but it's how fast we shift to above the line. And I'll explain a little bit further here. This is a great example of what above the line and below the line would look like in illustration here. This guy, you know, when he's just like going below the line, he doesn't look like he's in a creative process, as Dr. A would talk about, creating that life that he wants off in the distance, that vision and goal of what he really wants and that path to get there. But he is so caught up in being below the line and blaming and criticizing and judging, and I'm no good, I can't help this, that. And it's like thinking so negatively about themselves or others, it's their fault that I didn't. And it just weighs them down. And that person doesn't make it to where they really want to be. So keep that in mind as we talk about this book. Some of you know about this book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. I've actually done calls on this before. Going to go from a little bit different direction this time, and then add another conscious commitment that you might want to consider too as you go through your day and through your life. So the overview of what this book is about is basically, rather than permitting our unconscious habits, meaning our thoughts. How many of us had those negative thoughts, like I was describing? Oh gosh, this always happens to me. I always fail. It's their fault that those thoughts. I'm not capable. I don't deserve. It takes away all my power when I think like that. It holds me back. It keeps me where I am. So making decisions to adopt a new habits, regardless of how difficult it may be for a time. How about making healthy choices, eating smaller meals, low glycemic throughout the day with a balance of carbs, proteins, and fats to be able to help you create a healthy weight? That's a habit. You do that enough times and you're going to get the results of it. Well, we have all kinds of habits that can transform our lives and the leadership and the way we lead our lives. So being a conscious leader is making those constant habits part of your life where you see that consistency for a daily practice. And pretty soon it's just your way of life. It's not, I have to think about this and these things and this is going on. I don't know if I can do this today. It just becomes who you are and how you show up and how you're a healthy person. So you eat a certain way or you exercise. You're a fit person because you get up every morning and you do your routine. It just becomes who you are. Now you're conscious leadership. You're aware. You're making decisions on purpose for what you want moving forward in your life. So again, now where would you rather be? Down below the line or getting above the line? What would help this guy get above the line? Dropping those concepts, why he can't do something, the excuses, the problems, the blaming. If he dropped that rock, he could swim ashore and have a better quality of life. So are you living above the line or below the line? This is a visual, so you can keep this in mind. Above the line is talking about presence, being present where you are, being curious about what's going on, what things can I do, and looking at it with curiosity of how I could live the life that I desire. Now drama, that's below the line. Am I really reinforcing this? Hopefully you're getting it, these different visuals, so you can recognize it as you go through your day. Drama is going to put you in this place where it's like, literally, your body language is different. The way you talk is different. The way your posture might be different. The tone of voice is even different. I was talking to a coach earlier that's in a real creative environment right now, and she is getting so much done. She says she's actually a health coach, and she's just having so much fun doing her calls with her clients. And she's just like, she's in this beautiful environment. She's getting all excited. She's laughing a lot and having a blast. But when she was in a place where she felt confined and things weren't going as, there was some drama going on. But when she got out of that, she got into a creative process. And so she started getting a chance to say, what do I want it to look like? Being curious about what works, what doesn't. And that's being present. But the drama in the midst of it is hard to see that. So it's wonderful to have people in your life like your coach or your mentor to help lift you above the line and help you shift. Not because they're going to try to fix it for you, but they're going to give you some skill sets to get there. And what I mean by that, as you see below the line, I have a picture to illustrate it. Blaming, criticizing, that might be you pointing at yourself or even others pointing at you or you think they are. Sometimes they're not. And we think everybody's judging us and they're feeling this way. And we can be down in the line thinking, oh, this is my life. In reality, what if we lived in full presence and yes, go from victim to victor? I like that a lot. How about you guys? Okay, so this is a quick little illustration. And I wanted my husband to come on because we're going to be talking about 3 areas of a drama triangle. And he was in a previous life, and I'm going to have him describe it in just a little bit here, but he was a hero. And that is somebody, as you see in the middle of this, there's a being right is one thing that somebody can get into a drama. I'm going to be right no matter what. Ego might get involved. Just, oh gosh, our self-belief about ourselves is that we thought we have to defend something, whether we're right or wrong. And we just want to make sure that no matter what, we show up thinking that we're right, or we want everybody to think we are right. Then there's blame. It's like, it's everybody's fault. Fear. And we're talking about that toxic fear that holds you back from moving forward. Another way of looking at that is there's a hero that comes to save the day. And the reason I wanted my husband to come on tonight, this is Jaime Castro, and he was a hero in his previous life. And what we mean by that is he's coming in like Superman as a police officer to save the day, to temporarily fix a situation. And so I wanted him to describe what is different about him being a hero when he was a police officer, and then being a hero is now he's living a different life now. Well, Jamie, before we even go into the part of how it's different for you as a coach, will you share a little bit about how you were a hero as a police officer?
Yes, thank you for having me on the call. Usually what would happen in a situation as a former law enforcement officer, people would call upon us right upon the time when things were really going bad. And so we would come in, we would basically save the day for them and then go away. But in no time did we ever have the time to actually coach a person or get them through the process of how they could actually take control of the situation. And usually it was like a Band-Aid, because there were times when we would have to go back and the situation would be the same, unsolved. And then again, we would save the day, but it was always temporary. It was what they call, it was in a cycle always. And so we never did really get the chance to get people to go beyond that. Now, as a health coach, we actually stand beside the person to recognize the situation as it's going on and what can they actually do about it, versus creating all this drama and making something out of it more than what it really actually was. And it's actually seeing people in that, the fact that they're empowered to do that, it just brings a smile on my face, and obviously yours, because they're at times they're not calling you with situations because they take care of, they recognize it, and then they move on beyond that.
Yeah, so we're coming from a place of, another way I think about it is giving a man a fish he eats for a day, teach him how to fish he eats for a lifetime. So if we give a temporary fix, like, I know that some people will treat our program like a diet. And as a diet, it's a temporary fix. But if they learn that healthy lifestyle and they have the support and the community and they learn about taking proper care of their bodies, they're going to have that long-term success. So that's what we do as coaches, is to really step up and help somebody see how they can take responsibility for their choices. Because I want to know when I'm working with somebody that when each time we talk, we're talking a little bit more frequently in the beginning, then less and less and less, because they're not going to need me if I do a really good job, except for that occasional, just hit a bump in my road. Hey, can you help me out with that? Because I've empowered them to make decisions for themselves. So the other part of that triangle, if it's the drama part, it would be the hero coming to fix. And then the positive part of that would be where we become the person that becomes a coach, and then we can move somebody forward. Then there's also, on that triangle, was the villain, the person blaming. And what ends up happening when we get in that blame mode is we're acting as though, how do I put this? I'm trying to search for my words here. We want to blame ourselves or others or a group for our failures or how we don't feel good about a decision. Like I might be saying, I shouldn't have eaten that donut, or it's your fault I didn't have time to work out today because you took up my time doing this. That would be a villain, the blaming part. And so the other part of the triangle was the victim, the drama part. Life is happening to me. It's like, and I've been there. I lived that life for years. Woe's me. And I had the hardest time getting out of bed, just in survival mode. I just got to get through this day. And I felt powerless to the economy, to my mood, to my boss, all these things. Where did I feel like I was in control? I didn't. I felt like I was a victim. So what we want to be able to do is go from that hero to the coach, whether that's in your own life or to coach others. We want to go from that villain to challenge someone. Because if we can challenge them to say, okay, so what was going on there? What did you learn from that? What would you like it to look like? And then that victim that's saying, oh, this is my life, and they're feeling down in the dumps, what if we could help them be creative? So what could it look like? What do you want it to be like? What good things could we put in place? So get into that creativeness, and you have more energy doing that. So where would you like to be? Above the line being the coach, challenger, and creator? Or below the line being the hero, villain, and victim? I think we all know the answers to that, but we find ourselves still falling into some of those areas. So I know for a fact it can change, but it won't be 100% all the time. But we strive towards being 100% responsible for our choices and decisions and the way our life is unfolding, while we support others in doing that for themselves. Because one of the other commitments I wanted to share with you this evening, and my husband and I are going to be talking about this, one of the commitments is talking about entitlement versus appreciation. That's a biggie. I didn't realize the definition, according to the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, that is more about, when I think of entitlement, if you could, before I even go on to this slide, if you could put in the chat what you think is something that you could truly work on that would help you, if you recognize some above the line, below the line, and I see you guys are talking about in the chat there, challenge. Yeah, challenge helps us grow. That's true. And being curious can help us grow. Did you know when they talk about being curious in this book, if you've read it, he's not saying being curious to know the answer, he's saying be curious. Like if something went wrong or somebody said something that wasn't that nice to you or to someone else, it's like, I wonder why they're thinking like that, or why they said such a thing. Not to have to solve it, but just being curious changes it it shifts it above the line and says, I wonder why they did that. That wasn't really good of them to do. I'm thinking da-da-da, and then you go tell your friends and you start gossiping and that, instead of, I wonder what was going on in their life that they said something like that, because it's out of character. And then just letting it go. That's above the line. Okay, somebody wants to be a challenger and a creator. I like this. All right. Okay, so I think a coach, we actually have health coaches on the line. So being the coach versus the hero. I've had people say that they went and did all kinds of things for their clients. And it's like, but are they learning to be strong and be empowered to make the decisions? Kind of like there's time to push someone out of the nest so that they can learn to fly. I find myself, I know that I've had relationships where I've definitely enabled people and I've been enabled. So I feel stronger being that victor instead of the victim. Okay, I love the fact that somebody said the victor, yes, the encourager. Okay, now encourager would be, if you're doing it, encouraging to keep somebody motivated towards taking responsibility for their choices, to dig in, to get on the habits of health. Those are encouraging them to make choices that will lead to that full life that they desire, and reminding them of what they want. So the challenger would be somebody that might say to a client, okay, so I hear that you didn't stay true to your program and you found yourself off track. So what did you learn from that? Remember when we talked originally and you said that it was really important for you to do a half marathon? You hadn't done one since you were in high school, and it's been 13 years since then, and you said, that's so important to me, I want to do that again. Is that choice going to get you closer to that goal? Dr. A talks about stop, challenge, choose. So if we can stop, challenge, and choose for ourselves and lead our lives, and then help our clients stop, challenge, choose, and even our coaches, we can challenge them. What is it you want? Is this supporting your decision? That's the challenger. Okay, so I'm going to go on to now the other topic of entitlement versus appreciation. And I'm going to describe it. My husband and I are going to share a couple of examples of things that we've encountered recently. And if you guys have some examples of where entitlement comes in, and the book talks about, there's a little training video I watched today, and he says, they go into corporations and said, who feels entitled to do something? And most people, he says, a vast majority will say, no, I don't have that sense of entitlement. And then he qualifies what entitlement means. He says, if you find yourself getting angry, frustrated, irritated, and just getting a little upset about things. What's causing that? And he gave some specific examples of like being in the pre-check line and it's going slower than expected. And it's like, I have a pre-check. I should be able to soar through this line, but there's those slow people taking forever to take care of something. He felt entitled that his visit to the airport should be faster than other people's. He said that's entitlement. Being in traffic in a slow traffic jam and you're mad at everybody else because you're not getting to work on time. He gave another example of my wife should be a certain way or my spouse should be a certain way. And it's entitlement that you feel like they should be a certain way. And you're getting irritated and agitated by those things. And entitlement that they should be that way for me. That's entitlement. Now, do you think maybe you might have that entitlement mentality at times? Guaranteed I've been there, done that, even today. You guys haven't done that though, right? Just me. Jamie, have you ever?
Oh, yes, I can think of probably more than my share of those moments.
And you're going to share any specific things?
Well, specifically, one of the things was when we were on our way back to Florida, and mind you, we're on a freeway, and we're at times barely even moving. It's like, this is ridiculous. This is a freeway. People need to be moving faster than this. Of course, I had to think about the fact it's probably 1 million plus people trying to do the same thing. So we were just happy to be going forward in the right direction. We were moving, even though it was up and down. And we did have the opportunity to get off that highway and go a different route. But I felt this is ridiculous. I got to get going, got to get moving, and realizing stop and enjoy the ride. Appreciate the fact that there are others who had gone through a situation far worse than I did, and all I was doing was just driving down the road. Appreciate that. Enjoying the scenery with my lovely wife, and let's go forward.
Yeah, that's actually the other part of that, entitlement versus appreciation. So he shifted. So shifting is you first recognize where your triggers are, what sets you off that is a sense of entitlement, and then shifting to find out what it is you could appreciate about the situation. So the first key to living with appreciation is noting where you feel entitled. So could you guys, you've been putting some notes in there of the things that trigger that entitlement for you. And then I'm going to give you another moment to put some other things in there. When do you feel entitled? And I'm going to read some of those things in just a bit. And then I'm going to ask you to shift from entitlement to appreciation. And what I mean is what Jamie was describing. When we were leaving Florida during the hurricane, or prior to the hurricane, it took us an extra, 7-8 hours to get to Atlanta, Georgia. And we ended up leaving in the afternoon, and we ended up having to drive all through the night and didn't get there till 5 o'clock in the morning. And along the way, we stopped at a gas station. And there was a lady there with a friend of hers, and she was 79 years old, and she looked like she was going to pass out. But everybody was in their hurry of what they were doing and so forth, that nobody was paying attention to the fact that she was about ready to pass out, and her friend's trying to get help from people. And so I stepped in, and we ended up being delayed for 45 minutes, but I ended up making a couple of really good friends, got a major hug at the end, and because she was shaking, and we got her some food and just different things and water, and recognized some of the things that were going on. She was dehydrated and needed some protein in her body. And by the time it was done, but then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to be even later. Entered my mind, and thought, but in exchange for, and so I became very appreciative of the opportunity to be of assistance to another person. And that was very powerful. And I thought my husband, who loves to get from point A to point B as fast as possible, just like he was describing, I thought, oh no, he's going to be frustrated with me because I took the time to do this. But he has such a kind heart that was definitely a time for appreciating the moment. And so we turned it around, and like the guy at the airport, what he did is he's getting impatient with the pre-check and the line taking longer, and he stopped and he said he was willing to shift to appreciation. And he said, you know what? I appreciate the fact that it doesn't take me 4 years to get across the United States, or 4 days by car or even longer, or even 4 hours by plane or longer. And so he was finding himself being really appreciative for the modern times that we have. How could we shift? And it actually will change the body language from ugh to I see some really good comments going on here. Wow, this is really good feedback. Are you guys reading the chat? I won't even be able to read all of that. There's some really good comments in there, but it's everywhere from, sometimes I feel like people should see my vision at work or at home and I feel frustrated by what I dream as a lack of vision, instead of taking a moment to realize that those I am interacting with have their own visions and dreams, and they may not be exactly what I am envisioning. If I get out of my own way, I may find that putting all my visions together could be really awesome, or all of our visions together could be really awesome. Hard to do sometimes. So getting that place out of frustration, realizing that's empathy too, getting in someone else's shoes. So you appreciate that other people have visions too. And it's not just about you. That's a great realization too. Gosh, okay, so what is sad is when I use entitlement to change my mood. I deserve this. When I deserve this. How many of us go like, I would have done chocolate. I deserve this. Some of us we might even lost 10 pounds and say, well, I deserve to have this chocolate. I've been so good for 2 weeks now, so I'm going to go have. Did that really serve you well? Did that help you become that better version? Did you stop, challenge, and choose what the desired outcome was? A lot of you are talking about things that you feel at your work and helping your husband with his chores. I should feel appreciative that we are healthy enough to do physical projects together. That's a great way to turn it around. I'm thinking, Jamie, can you think of a time, when we were on that side road and I lost Wi-Fi connection? That was a little challenging. You saw me get a little frustrated, thinking, I made a commitment to somebody and I am not able to get on the phone with them, and they're going to think that I let them down and I wasn't there for them. And so this is going through my mind and worried about the other person and thinking I've got to, fix this. And then when I realized I had no control over the situation, we sat back, I took a couple of deep breaths, and I thought, Jamie, look at that field out there. That pasture is gorgeous. This reminds me of Oregon. Started pointing out, hey, there's cows there. And going, yeah. And we just started just enjoying the environment and talking and chatting. And I became very grateful that I had that time. I knew the person would be forgiving of me once I called them and they understood why. What if I worried and fretted about it or blamed or got mad or frustrated? That would have only made the situation worse. So I just appreciated the environment and the company I had. How did you feel during that time, James?
Well, and that was good. I was thinking about that quote that goes around, stop and smell the roses. There are times that we were going so fast that maybe we forget. And these are the perfect opportunity to slow down, take a deep breath and breathe and just appreciate what's around you and think about, if you didn't have the opportunity to do that, some of those things would go past by and you never know that they were there. So it was a good time to take the time and breathe.
Okay, so I see some really more comments. They're going by so fast, and some of them are like paragraph forms that I can't read them all as fast as they're going up the chat. But let's see. Okay, so there's if you guys, I would like to save the chat, and I might even share it later. But there's some really good comments. I love the fact that you guys are recognizing some of the things where we might be entitled. How many of you have kids? I've got about 1 minute here that say, they feel like because you've spent the last 30 or 40 years creating income for yourself, that they deserve part of your income. Or they say, gosh, because you have a house, I should be able to live in it. That would be entitlement. Does that ever frustrate you? Or does it frustrate your kids that maybe you don't do that? Or have you maybe done it and you feel like that you feel like you're taken advantage of, then you feel like a victim. And then when you feel like a victim, then you get upset with somebody or you go to fix them because, okay, now, maybe I should help them. I feel guilty about it. You help. And then it's just like, then pretty soon, see, they didn't appreciate that. So now you're blaming them for whatever. And it's just like, that's the drama triangle. It can happen anywhere in your life. How many of you have made poor decisions with your eating plan? and you blame your coach because they weren't calling you. Could you have called them? So it's like, keep asking yourself, where am I? These are a couple of the commitments. Where am I blaming? And where am I learning to take responsibility for my choices? And then where am I feeling entitled? And where am I showing appreciation? So I'll leave you with those thoughts. As you go through your day, catch how many times you complain about your life or about somebody else. About your time, or your lack of this, or your lack of that, or because I don't. Find the things that you can appreciate. And it's really hard sometimes, but if you could find yourself saying thank you, you'll find yourself, the quality of life will immediately get better. Now I want to share one last slide with you. I'm gonna have to fast forward through a couple of them to get to it. So here we go. I want to show this with you because what we have coming up is, oh darn, it didn't go to the very first slide. So I'm gonna have to end this show for just a second. I'm gonna come back to it and go from the current slide. Sorry, Angie. There we go. I guess it's taken me to the very beginning again. I'm not sure why, so let me go back. Because I want you guys to see this slide. This is a big deal. This is an annual thing for us. This is the National Optimal Health Day. It's the 5th one we've had. So September 27th, 2017, save the date. Ask your coach what they're doing or what their coach is doing, or if they know a community event that is going on, or maybe you could even have a community event where you're bringing together people to learn about National Optimal Health Day. You can have a walk with people. Jamie and I were talking earlier about when we go back to Florida, and just so you guys know, it was a scary situation, but our friends and our own houses there were in good condition considering what happened. It was relatively little impact compared to what it could have been in the upper part of Florida. But I wanted to share with you, because this part, the National Optimal Health Day, we're going to be in Florida, we're talking about going over the Ringling Bridge in Sarasota as a walk, and then being on a call with Dr. A. All of us are welcome right after the Habits of Health call. Dr. A is going to be talking like we're doing right now. Just come onto the same Zoom, and you will be able to see him answering questions, talking about National Optimal Health Day. Invite anyone and everyone to learn about optimal health and creating health, and they'll have opportunity to ask him questions. It's going to be, we don't know all the details of what that looks like. It's going to unfold, but we're only a short time away, 7 days. So please reach out with your coach and see if it's something you could start something in your community, but we can all come together, bring people to your home for healthy refreshments or lean and green. You could, even at this point, you could still have a large event to do, and we've had whole towns involved, school systems involved. Where could you make an impact to bring people together to learn about health?
The following audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some Optavia coaches or clients of Optavia. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Optavia team.